Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. So today we're doing another installment of Let's Unpack. In the spirit of spooky season, I thought that I would share 3 scary stories that occurred while I was traveling, which while they were happening were very scary, but now I've learned a lot from each of the experiences. So instead of wasting time, I'm just gonna get right into it. We're gonna go in chronological order. So this first story is when I took my first solo trip. No, it was my first real solo trip to Amsterdam in 2016. I had a lull of time during my internship, and I decided instead of waiting for someone to travel with, I'm just going to go to Amsterdam. And instead of trying to navigate to Gatwick or Luton, because those are usually the cheaper airports to fly out of, I saw that there were routes to Amsterdam by bus. At least that's what I thought. So I got this like £50 ticket from London to Amsterdam, went to Victoria Station, got on the bus, and I'm not gonna sit here and blame geography or anything like that. I mean, yes, I have traveled before. Yes, I'd been to Europe a couple of times at that point in my life, but I can't sit there and remember that Amsterdam is not landlocked. So we're riding, and the ride itself was already unpleasant because it was really cold, and I sat next to this couple that was being really gross, and they decided that their snack of choice was gonna be some sour cream and onion chips, and it just made everything smell bad, even though I love sour cream and onion chips. But I was not loving that, and it was just smelling up the whole place. And you know, just traveling by bus, it's an experience. You never know what you're gonna get. And I was already just feeling weird. I was feeling anxious because I'd never done a solo trip, and here we were on this bus, so I thought I'll just fall asleep. I will just fall asleep. Then I get woken up suddenly and everyone's getting off the bus. It's only been about an hour at this point, so I'm thinking we're not there. We absolutely are not, but of course I'm taken aback because everyone is getting off the bus. There was no announcement over the PA system. I'm a very, very light sleeper, so if anyone had made an announcement about prepare all your bags and get off this bus, I would have been ready to go. So we all stand up, and I specifically asked 3 people, I said, do we need to take our things? I had a backpack and like a purse because it was just gonna be an overnight or a day trip, I thought. And so they said, no, you don't need to take anything. 3 different people told me I didn't need to take anything. So we all get off the bus, and I'm thinking it's a rest stop. So they all funnel us inside. We go up some stairs and it just opens up to this big communal area. It's kind of some food stands, but not really. I think because it was so late, because this was gonna be an overnight bus trip. I wasn't gonna be staying at a hotel or like anything like that. But it was just I thought it was gonna be a bus riding through the night, kind of like a train. And then when I look out the window, I realize we're surrounded by water right now. And I do not like that. So I'm just waiting and waiting. I did take my purse, which has obviously my identification, my money, my phone, all of my valuables, but my backpack, which just kind of had like snacks and whatever else I thought was gonna make me more comfortable while I was alone going through Amsterdam for the day, I just, you know, left that on the bus. And then all of a sudden the boat starts moving. So I asked someone, are we getting back on the bus? And they're like, yeah, eventually. I'm like, what do you mean eventually? And it turns out that was part of the journey. Again, I had no idea Amsterdam, or the Netherlands I should say, isn't landlocked. So I didn't know we were gonna be doing the bulk of our journey on water, which I already hate. And 2, that I wasn't gonna have access to my things. So already being anxious about traveling solo, not having my things, being irritated because I was like snapped awake by people getting off of a bus, the smell of sour cream and onion chips, and the couple that was just being really annoying and talking a lot and kind of arguing. Like I was not in the best of moods, and at this point, it was about midnight or so, so I had no one in my region that I could text, but thankfully, everyone in America was awake, so I just started texting everybody. And also, guys, this part of the journey, from recollection, I have no idea how long it was, but it's like midnight, so I'm sleepy. There's nowhere to sit because all of us are on this giant boat, but there's not a lot of seating. Like, there's nowhere to get food, and like I said, my snacks and stuff are in my backpack. down in the bunker where our buses are, and I'm just like having a breakdown and trying to text people back home. I can't call anybody, but needless to say, I just had a straight up breakdown. Like, I started crying in this chair. Like, someone got up and I just took the chair, sat down, popped my headphones in, and just cried for what felt like 30 minutes because I was like, this was so dumb. I shouldn't have gone on a solo trip. This is what I get. Now I'm over a large body of water all by myself. No one knows where I am. I can't get my things. Like, purely just in total discomfort, and I absolutely hated it. And you guys might be thinking that's not scary, but it was scary for me. At this point, I was 22. Yeah, so I was just like, I don't know. I wasn't quite as adventurous as I am now, so that was really terrifying for me, and it definitely shook me, and definitely probably impacted how I experienced Amsterdam from that point. I had an okay time in Amsterdam. I didn't enjoy being by myself, but yeah, I ended up booking a bus earlier back so that I could get back, because I was just like, I don't want to be riding through the night on this boat in open water again. Like, just get me back to London. And so that concludes our first story. And basically the lesson I learned there is, number one, look up to see if there are bus or train journeys to a city. If you're in somewhere like Europe, maybe Latin America, I'm not entirely sure, but if there's anything like that, do some geography and before you look, and make sure that you're not going to be asked to get off of your immediate mode of transportation, like the one you arrived on, because that was the most jarring thing for me. The fact that 3 people who clearly have done this type of trip before, they knew what to do, they knew what to expect, but like, if someone had just said, yeah, I'd go ahead and take your backpack, I don't think I would have had such an intense breakdown. But being separated from my things, I'm not that girl. I'm not that girl that is self-sufficient, and instead I'm just gonna go break down in a corner and cry until it's all over. So yes, that's one of the things. Maybe if I do more solo travel in the future, I will have more tips on that, but that's the first story done. The second story happened in 2017. My friend Ilse, who you guys are no stranger to on this channel, we went to Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. And that was like I don't know, that was a weird trip, but it was so fun. Like, one of my favorite memories ever in terms of how we've traveled together. But it started off bad. Like, I had trouble getting to Cabo, and when I did, the shuttle that took Ilse to our hostel that she had taken some hours earlier, it apparently stopped at a certain time. So when I arrived at 7 p.m, it wasn't running anymore. They only had taxis available. Well, because I thought I was gonna be getting on a shuttle, which I obviously talked to her about before I got on my flight, I didn't have any cash on me, so I knew I couldn't take a taxi. Thankfully, these 2 women who I'd befriended in the bar in LAX, they were renting a car, and they dropped me off at my hostel. But also at that time, I didn't really know if I had an international plan with my parents' cell phone, family plan, and I had my phone on airplane mode, and I was just like, I finally just turned it back on, and I texted my family. I said, if you get a bunch of charges for international whatever, this is before I knew kind of the details of my cell phone plan, I said, just charge them to me, I'll pay them, but I can't be out of commission right now. And thankfully, those women were super nice. They knew where they were going. It wasn't their first time coming to Cabo, and they took me directly to my hostel. But I was so scared, because I was like, what if I have no way of getting to this hostel because I have no cash? Like, I'm not gonna hop in anyone's taxi with no cash and be like, oh, trust me, oh, when we get there, I'll pay you. No, I'm black. No, I'm not doing that anywhere. So that was scary. But another scary thing that happened was the next day we went on a hike, and yeah, the directions that we got when we read online on TripAdvisor was to follow these orange flags up to the top of Mount Solmar, I believe that's what it's called, and then follow yellow ones back down. Orange was not the color. We figured out after finally running to some people damn near to the top of the mountain that we were on the right path. We were just hoping we were, because the orange had faded due to the sun exposure. It was basically like beige. So we were looking for these bright highlighter orange flags the whole time, and we were just hoping we were on a marked path. Like I said, thankfully we ran into some people, but once we got up there and took pictures and everything, we didn't see those people anymore. So when it came time time to go back down, they said don't take the same path down that you did to get there. We didn't know where we were going. At one point, we were just straight up sliding down this mountain. I was wearing a romper. Thankfully, I brought some walking shoes, but I was wearing a romper just sliding down the side of this mountain. Like, Ilse was starving. We were just like, are we gonna get home? Like, I was freaked out. And then I was just like, if we die on the side of this mountain, I guess that's not the worst place to die. I mean, at least I'd be traveling, doing something I love with one of my best friends. Like, that's not the worst thing in the world. But I definitely felt it's in hindsight, it's not as intense as it felt in the moment, but I was definitely a lot of scared because I'm not like a experienced hiker or anything like that. Like I said, I didn't even know a hike was on the agenda, and I was in a romper. Like, so if I hadn't had my running shoes, I have no idea how that would have went, because that was a mess. But thankfully we got back down, we got where we needed to get onto a trail that made sense. And the moral of that story was just that, one, maybe travel with another group. Well, I mean, there was the two of us, we made it and everything. There was no one else around, so there was not like anyone we could have waited on, and we didn't know if people were gonna show up. It made for a good story too, but I guess I would just say, you know, make sure you have food and water. I had one snack and I did have water, and she had water as well, but you know, just be prepared. Maybe get up a little earlier so the sun isn't beating down on you and you're not having a mirage of dying, and just enjoy. But yeah, I don't really know if there was a moral of the story there. It just kind of was the hiking experience. But I guess I would say, make sure, if you kind of know yourself, or you kind of know that the attractions in your area could potentially be active, bring activewear. Don't be me. Don't be in a floral romper and some running shoes. And my final scary story was actually scary. I know these other ones, you guys are probably just thinking I'm just weak-willed or like a wimp, but they were scary in the moment. And when I think of scary, I think like anxious, and like my heart's beating fast, and I'm not a problem solver at my core. So I just jump to the worst case scenario and I panic, and I just think everything is gonna go wrong from that point. So I don't know if you guys thought the first two were tame, but this last story was actually very scary. I went to New Orleans with my friend Rory in 2018. We went out on the town having a good time, and we went to this one bar. We were dancing, and we had another girl with us, which was my friend Rory's friend. And thankfully, both me and the other girl saw it as it was about to happen. It was like fate intervened. But my friend Rory was dancing. She had her cup near her, but it was like higher above her head. And we saw a guy come from behind and start to put something in her drink. And we both grabbed her, flung her toward us, started, of course, we're drunk at this point, we're screaming at this guy, like, get the F away from us, like, don't, how could you, what the F are you doing, all the expletives, right? And he tries to act like we're overreacting. Like, he's like, whoa, 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 like, calm down, calm down. I'm like, no, you just tried to put drugs in my friend's drink, and I saw you, like, I saw you with my own two eyes. And then at this point, my friend Rory was also drunk, and when she turned around, she saw a different person than we saw, so she didn't really know who we were yelling at. She just turned around and started yelling at the first person she saw because she didn't know what was going on, so she just joined in, and she actually ended up yelling at this woman. And it was kind of a bad situation because that woman was actually approaching her to like hit on her and stuff. And so when we came back around, I recognized that woman, and we went up to her, we all apologized, and I felt so bad because it was at this point that she did tell us, you know, oh, I just went up to your friend because I thought she was really pretty and I was gonna like ask her to dance and stuff, and I thought that, you know, she didn't like that I approached her, and so I felt bad that I was like in her space. And we were all like, oh my gosh, no, we are not homophobic like that, like, no, like, she is straight, so, you know, it wouldn't have worked, but that is not at all, we're so sorry that that was your impression, that like we would have reacted to that level of you making like a romantic advance on somebody. Like, I'm so sorry, that could have been potentially traumatizing for you. Like, that was the worst part of the night for me. But we ended up getting a bouncer, and we pointed out the guy, and the bouncer physically removed that guy from the club. And we were all like, I'm so happy the bouncer believed us, which is kind of sad when you think about it. Like, we had a little huddle beforehand and we were just like, I mean, are the bouncers even gonna do anything? We're gonna run up to him and be like, this guy tried to spike my drink. Like, how can we prove that? But that was his immediate reaction, was like, where is he? Point him out. And we did, and he removed him from the club. When we left the club though, I immediately saw that guy. He was just standing outside, almost like he was lying in wait. And I didn't want to freak my friends out. So when we left, again, we'd all had like 3 or 4 drinks at this point. So I let them walk ahead, and even though I've made this decision before, which is all incorrect, but I don't know why I think I can like save people, or like I'm super strong or something. I'm 5'2", I'm not strong. I'm like 130 pounds. Like, I can't do a whole lot of damage, but just so I could have eyes on the situation, I just trailed back a little bit and let them walk ahead of me, because I wasn't sure if he was going to do something when she walked past him. So when my friends walked past him, he did stare her down basically until I passed him, and I was just waiting, because at this point, if you've ever been on Bourbon Street, you know the bars are right next to each other. So there's tons of people around. If he did try something, I was right next to a couple of bouncers if he tried something. But just the idea of like him standing there and waiting, because he wasn't with other people, he was just standing there and then like staring her down as we came out. Once I passed him and he didn't make any kind of physical or sudden movements, I just grabbed her and I completely changed our course of direction to sort of get lost in the crowd of Bourbon Street, because I did not want that to turn into something. But I just was like, that was my first experience, because I was not a big like party goer in college. So that was my first experience, you know, seeing anything like that, you know, actually having eyes on seeing someone about to roofie somebody, drug somebody, and it was gonna be my friend, and I was not having it. Like, I was so, I'm sure it was the liquid courage of me being outside thinking I was gonna do something if he like jumped at her. I mean, I would have. If he put his hands on her, I would have put my hands on him. Like, I would have tackled him to the ground. I don't care. But I'm just saying, like, that's also not very smart as a small young woman, a small young black woman at that, and that was a white man. And so I just didn't want to, I shouldn't have put myself in that situation, but he created that situation. So moral of the story there is trust your instinct. I'm very glad we decided to go to the bouncer instead of letting this guy just trail around the club and probably do it to somebody else if he hadn't already that night. And I say trust your instinct, and when something feels unsafe, it probably is unsafe. Just remove yourself from the situation if you can. It's always best to do these sorts of activities in groups, always. So that's the moral of the story I took away from it. I wouldn't have changed anything that I did, but I am glad that when I am in that sort of inebriated state, I always have that level of self-awareness. And if you can't have that, be around people you trust to have that. So those are my like 3 scary stories. They all had a different mood. Like, the first 2 are funny in hindsight more than they are scary. Definitely scary in the moment. The last one is still scary. And thankfully we still had a great night, but still very scary that it could happen. I have absolutely been very fortunate, especially as a young Black American woman, that everywhere I've traveled has been relatively very safe. I haven't felt very unsafe, and the stories that I have shared about feeling unsafe, I have shared with you guys in other Let's Unpack videos. So if you want to know more about my travel experiences, you should definitely view the other videos in this playlist. But I've been very fortunate to have pretty positive experiences in terms of safety especially. But I just thought that I would give you guys a couple of stories that can make you laugh, also give you a little bit of a chill, and, you know, just close out spooky season. It's my favorite season and month of the year, and I'm really sad that October's coming to a close, but you know, 2020 can end for all I care, and we can pick Halloween back up next year, hopefully. So I hope you enjoyed this short little video of me talking about the foolishness. And I hope you, if you are celebrating Halloween, in whatever way that makes sense to you, be as safe as humanly possible. If you have Animal Crossing, I hope you guys have fun on your islands, and all of your villagers are really cute. But yeah, I hope everyone has a really safe Halloween. I hope everyone has enjoyed this spooky season, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.